Hello, everyone. Again, another episode. Today, a remarkable figure, Paul Rosenberg. How are you today, Paul?
Doing great, Julio. Great to see you. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for taking your time joining us today. Paul, for the people who actually don't know you that well, how would you characterize who's Paul Rosenberg? I mean,
Oh,
how
that's
would you
a
tell people? Yeah,
yeah. That's a tough. I've been talking to my psychiatrist. No, I'm kidding about that for
sure.
years. Um, there's a couple of key things because I do have a lot of different areas that I operate in. But first and foremost, I'm a performance and leadership coach. I've been doing that for 30 years, helping companies transform through the human side of things all over the world. So lived on six continents. I'm just missing Antarctica, which is kind of a shame because my favorite animal is a penguin, and I haven't lived in Antarctica, but one
Okay.
day maybe.
You never
And
know.
you never know, right? And so I'm an author of a book called Rogue Leadership, and really, that passion is about transforming leaders and transforming organizations. Again, as I said, through the human side and taking on those risks and just doing things differently than most people do things. So also a speaker and a keynoter and I run workshops on that. But that's the main focus
Sure.
is 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 leading through uh, better performance, a better work culture, and with the heart.
Admirable introduction. I'm inspired myself with that. Paul, people also don't know a lot that the amazing things that you've done during 80s, 90s, or even before or after. Can you tell us a bit about that exciting story?
Okay, so there's a couple. And I'll be brief. There are two things that kind of shaped who I was. I began working in the training business, conference and business exhibition business, so business conferences, and from that, I for my company that I was working for at the time, I kind of became the person who went into new countries to open up markets. And it happened by accident, actually. One of our offices opened up in Madrid.
Right?
The general manager left after a week. I got a call from the CEO, and he said, this was a Thursday. I was in LA. And he said, Paul, can you be in Madrid on Monday? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. Then I said, I'm not your first choice, right? He goes, actually, four other people turned me down. And the reason why I mentioned that, Julio, is that my willingness to take that risk
Yeah.
is what has served me well. The willingness to explore uh, other cultures.
Don't miss the point. Please continue. I just want to interrupt because there's a
Please.
significant point that I like to mention that. There was four additional people that turned down. So it means that you were five on the list, which
Yeah.
is bad. So for people out there in executive position, when you look at something, you're supposed to know and evaluate the proper skills of a person and the capabilities of this person instead of just using, let's see how we make up the pieces of the puzzle, see who's best.
No,
No, please
absolutely.
continue. I just wanted
No,
to,
no,
hear that.
absolutely. So for me, this has to do with trusting your gut and being willing to try something new. And I was on a plane to Madrid, scared to death. I didn't let my boss know that, but I was very successful there. And so this is the first step in me understanding that, because we're talking about global leadership today,
Yeah.
is that at the end of the day, what I've learned since then has been Spain, Sweden, New Zealand, Australia, India, Azerbaijan, the UK, the list goes on, is that those different cultures have their frameworks.
Yeah.
But within that framework, to me, it's all the same because you're dealing with human beings. We all want the same things. We're all motivated by the same things. So instead of you honor that cultural difference and you embrace it, and you also have that core of human leadership going for you. So.
Absolutely.
So that created my career. Just a brief mention on a couple of more things on that international journey in the 80s and 90s. Again, this was an instinct thing. I was on my way back to Madrid, a guy in the car. This would be 89. So some of you weren't born yet, but he said, "Hey, check out the Soviet Union." And I'm thinking about it, and I'm on the plane, and I get to Madrid, and I decide.
And for people who don't actually know, during those times were the worst times of USSR because it was almost the transition. The 90s was a big depression in Russia. Right. And the whole system was a chaos for people who actually don't know the actual environment. And you still went there. It's admirable.
Yeah, and I developed a business relationship with the ambassador in Spain, in Madrid. And one day he said, I listen to my gut all the time, Julio, and it's never failed me, really. My gut said, Paul, go see this guy. I bought him some of his favorite Spanish chocolates or whatever because he was very picky. And I walked into the embassy without an appointment. And I said, can I speak to this gentleman? Can I speak to the ambassador? They said, no, he's in a press conference. And he jumped out to me and he said, I'm in a press conference, but you stay here. And the press conference is over. He came out and he got me and he led me to this back private garden, and there was the architect of perestroika, his minister of economics, Dr. Abel Aganbegian. And we literally had a private conversation for 2 hours. Like it was magic. And then I led one of the first training initiatives. This is right before the People's Congress, so we're talking 1990.
Yeah.
Before the worst of the transition. So when I was there was a lot of hope. That hope would go quickly the year after. But when I was there was a lot of hope towards what could be. And I learned a lot. Even in those bad times, I learned a lot from that whole experience. So there you go.
I think it's one of the most admirable things they just mentioned is understanding the cultures, which is one of the most, to not say the most critical thing that companies and organizations that work internationally do not do. They're going abroad. They try to implement their own culture inside a foreign culture. I mean, do you actually understand what you're doing? Do you actually understand the environment of the country that we're looking for? Not to mention that some of the countries have totally bipolar culture, right?
Yeah.
And for example, CIS countries have nothing to do with us. So we really need to understand what is their platform, what is their way of thinking, what is their culture, what is their religion, so and that enriches a person.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that what that does, and it's a lesson for leadership beyond just that, but it really is about connecting with who's across the table from you, listening and being patient, because one of the things I learned in dealings with the ex-Soviet Union in those time periods was I just listened. I had to understand where they were before we could start doing any kind of negotiating about the framework. I needed to understand what their needs were, what their fear, and this is a big thing. You know this, Julio.
Yeah, of
Most
course.
leaders make decisions based on fear, either
Yeah,
fear of the past,
yeah,
something that's happened to them in the past that they avoid, or fear of the future.
yeah,
So that conversation, as you said, about understanding a culture is you have to understand how they think,
yeah,
what they fear,
yeah.
and you can't kind of put your experience and framework into that space. You have to let that space come to you.
One remark, it's the auto adaptation. It's what most people miss out when you go abroad, especially to these type of countries that the culture is totally different from ours. The way of working is totally different from ours. They have different thoughts about their future. They have totally different about what is happening in the country, because you cannot rely on what's read. I mean, being on the book or being in a report is sometimes it's totally different from the reality, and this is something that people should always have in mind, because this is true reality. This is true life. I still see it today. Most international companies still rely on reports before going to a negotiation, and sometimes it's first time they go into the country, no experience about the culture. That's really bad. I can tell you right now, that's really bad.
Yeah, no, I
You
couldn't agree
you're
more.
supposed to make a study of the country first, hear the people, hear what's happening really out there in reality, and then make a decision if you want to go
Yeah,
through it, and your alignment. Does it align with their necessities or not? Because you need
yeah,
exactly a big point that you just mentioned. You need to hear what is their current status and what are their fears and what are the future. Because you can be totally different from the person that goes along with different mindset. Oh, they might need that. Well, then it's totally different. So hearing is exactly the point that you just mentioned.
yeah, and just to
You,
just to, take another take on that
yeah, yeah,
is that I couldn't agree with you more. I'm it's the report, it's the data. The data shows, or the report shows, or whatever. You have to go there before you go there. Like go there, you have to go there, and you have to
yeah,
experience, and you have
yeah,
to connect.
yeah,
And you're not going to get that out of a graph. You're
no,
not going to get that out of a report. You need to do. I agree. There's a place for the reports. Okay,
yeah.
particularly if you're looking at market trends and you're bringing in a new product, that's all fine. But at the end of the day, the successful businesses that I've coached, or that I know of, or that I've worked with overseas in 6 continents, those are the ones who have learned how to connect.
Yeah,
And once that engagement is there and that trust is there, the business usually thrives,
yeah.
because it's not something that's
Parallel is
yeah,
reality,
it's
because they
reality.
see they see a person that aligns with their mindset and understands them and co-aligns with their structure and a vision of roadmap to the future. That's all they're looking for, and it's not that complex. People sometimes make really so complex negotiations. They go, "Oh my God, why are you going so complex?" It's very
Yeah,
easy. You're
yeah,
going in there, you need to understand the necessities. You need to understand what they need really, and you need to know that you understand them. Those are the
yeah.
three concepts. If you got that aligned, almost over 90%, you get it through. Because that's all it is. It's building trust, building understanding, and building the same vision.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, man. You said it
So
perfectly.
I mean, I did travel a lot too. So I'm just sharing, that insight that most people don't have. Especially when you go to the Eastern countries or Asia. I mean, the concept is very, very different, as you know, Paul.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking
yeah,
about even from the 80s and 90s, the concept for example, in Russia, nothing to do with the concept we had in Western Europe or even US.
yeah,
I mean, we're talking about bipolar thought. They didn't have any vision at all. What was the opening? Because they were in a regime that was totally closed. They didn't know what was many things out of from Western Europe, especially until the what we call the, this is getting my political, we're going to overpass just to finish this subject. When it was the Berlin Wall, that was the change. Until then, people were really unaware what was going on in the West. They had their own thoughts, sorts of very, how you call it, very structured, very, very closed, and people in general had that mentality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember I was doing some training on marketing and market development, and of course, the market didn't exist in the ex-Soviet Union. There was no market per se. There was local market, but it was obviously all controlled. And so the concept of having the freedom to bring ideas and to bring products and to have that, it was really difficult. We were successful in the end, but it took a long time for them to understand that mindset and for me to adjust to make sure that, because if it was too uncomfortable, we weren't going to get anywhere anyway. I can't just, I had to find a way to slowly move them along that way to other possibilities, right?
Yeah. It's amazing because, I mean, for us, it's unthinkable, right? But in the end, if you put yourself on the other side, that's all they live for. They don't know anything else because that's how they are born and they are living in that type of culture, right?
That's their frame of reference. That's their reality.
When you just mentioned about marketing, it's like marketing is like looking up one person. That's the marketing. That was their marketing. While us, we can have sharing the ideas and putting up framework, etc. So. But it's very admirable what you do, especially in that moment in time, for people to understand that was the hardest time, especially even on understanding the culture and the country itself, the way it was based.
It taught me a lot. I learned as much as I gave. Whatever the situation is, and that's one thing I want to say, is that no matter what's going on, there are always lessons to be learned. Even if it's bad or things aren't going well, there's always lessons to be learned. And so I learned a lot as well about that. Kind of shaped my ability to listen and to be patient and to seek understanding and seek engagement. So those things, whether it's the ex-Soviet Union or it's the UK today or the United States, whatever it is, those skill sets still are incredibly true and valuable.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So, and after this stage, you came back to the West. How was your journey after that?
Well, as I said, I did the international thing for, actually, I stayed on that international circuit for this company for many years. And then I want to talk about another brief thing that taught me a ton as well.
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll go back, then how I became a coach, which is also has to do with instinct and being willing to take a risk. But in between the conference business, a friend of mine who I'd worked with in Sweden, I opened up the company for the same company that I did in Madrid in Sweden. She invited me back to open up a training company, and it went bankrupt within 6 months. Like, she had found the love of her life. She wasn't interested, and me as a non-Swedish partner, that's just not going to happen. I didn't speak fluent Swedish.
Yeah.
The business model kind of blew up when I got there. And again, my survival instincts are, well, I could have left right away. What I had to do was find a way to pay the bills. And so a friend of mine and I were talking. She goes, "Oh, you should, stand-up comedy is really big in Sweden." And it was the boom in Sweden. This is in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I went to an open microphone night, and it went well, and the owner of the club started to book me. And then I became in the middle of this bankruptcy, I became a very well-regarded stand-up comic throughout Sweden. I was touring every weekend, and that's what paid the bills. So that saved me. but again, what I learned from that is that there may, with the bad news, when things are going bad, there still is opportunity.
Yeah,
When bankruptcy is horrible, and when I say bankruptcy, actually the company failed. That's my term. It's not a legal bankruptcy. It's like the company collapsed.
yeah,
So what was I going to do? How do I survive? And the lesson there is that every bad situation, there's also opportunity to learn and to grow and to do
absolutely.
something different. So I learned a lot from that. And from that, I went back to the States. And I was working for another training conference company in Boulder, Colorado. And so this is where the big paradigm shift came for me for mindset. And it has to do with my focus on adding value. And I was hired as the marketing director for this firm. The guy who founded it, was a marketing genius. And I should have asked more questions, because why would he need a marketing director? Because he's the founder of this very successful company. He invested 250,000 and he sold it for 80 million, right? He's one of those
Yeah,
entrepreneurs. Very
yeah,
good
yeah,
return on investment, right? Very good return on investment. The issue is that he was not letting me be the marketing director. He was making all the decisions. I was not allowed to do anything. And
right.
then he said, I'm going to talk to your staff and see if you're adding any value. I go, don't bother, because they're going to tell you I'm not. And so this is true story.
Yeah,
This one morning I woke up and I go, I'm done. I'm not adding any value. I want to be in a place that I can thrive and appreciates me. And
yeah,
I walked into his office that morning and I said, his name was Jimmy. Jimmy, oh, I'm done. I said, I can't be the marketing director you want me to be, because you won't let me be that marketing director. Nobody knows better than you. Don't have a marketing director. That's my
yeah,
advice. And I said, give me 6 months and we'll work it out. He said, great. I said, I'm going to go out for lunch. I walked downstairs. I grabbed a newspaper. And this is where this is important. This is the Denver Post. In that newspaper, that day only, okay, in that newspaper in Denver, Colorado, that was the only ad this company ran. There was an ad for a coaching slot out of a company out of Vancouver.
right.
And that's the only day they ran it. I picked up the newspaper, I applied, and guess what? The rest is history. I became a leadership and performance coach from that day forward. And I think it's because I was authentic to my staff, to my organization,
Yeah,
and to my team. And I was, again, listening to my gut, which is, with all leadership, something that all of us need to do more often. Sorry.
no, no, no.
I,
It's fun. It's fun. It's really a necessity, and it's really something that people should know about. I mean,
yeah.
being truthful with yourself and your team is the first most important thing in any type of work, or even friendship or professionally. I mean, that's honesty. It's the critical one. It's the critical point that everyone should be on point of for everything. Of course, in the situation that you remarked, when you don't feel valuable and you feel that you don't putting any of your skills inside the organization, then of course you feel that you have the need to find another path where you feel valuated. So, like you just mentioned, in our lives, there's up and downs all the time. What I take is that the down parts I take it as an experience. So in the future, I won't have any regrets of what I've done during those decisions, because it's all experience really in the end. You just make the decision according your gut and you're truthful. When you are truthful to yourself, you feel that you need to do more. and you need to do something that's really engaging, according your ideals and your character and the way you are.
Yeah.
So you thrive and you continue that search, as I used to say, and in the end, you get the result. You know,
Yeah.
uh, and you gain the experience during that journey. And this is the most important part, because most people out there sometimes they get demoralized about the situation. Don't be. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for you to show yourself and to prove yourself that you can do better than what you're doing, and where you can apport your knowledge, your skills, and what you know inside any organization, or even to other people that you just
Yeah.
show. You know,
Absolutely. It's understanding value. It's being authentic. You know, right now, as you know, Julio, there, particularly with the younger generation, there's imposter syndrome. There's a lot of self
oh,
doubt. There's a lot of, I have to have this and this and this. And my answer, my respond, which is the rogue leadership part of you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
my being is no. You don't have to do anything. You're not a resume. As you said so eloquently, it is about the experience. And so I never looked at my resume or my CV as that's the journey. The journey has been the experiences and being open, being able to, during bad times, being able to carry on and have a vision and believe in yourself and understand what you bring to the table. I've hired lots of people in my day, and I always look for not the beautiful CV, which there are hundreds of them. What
yeah,
I want to know is who they are, not what they've done.
yeah,
And there's the difference. Who
yeah,
are they?
yeah,
What can they bring to the table? How do they connect with me, the potential employer? And yeah, the
yeah,
skill set is nice,
yeah.
but if you can have a great, as you know, you can have a great CV and be totally not the right person for joining a team. So
You just mentioned one very important thing. Having a makeup on paper doesn't add up with the reality of yourself. Always, and this is one of my phrases that I tell to everyone, you have to have a matchup between yourself and the paper. If it doesn't add up, in the end, you'll disappoint yourself and other people, because you believe that appearances are top priority instead of evaluating your qualities and your character in top
yeah,
of it, right? That's
no,
always, and this is, especially in this generation, this is happening a lot.
yeah,
And people should have that in mind, that when you go to the interview, I mean, if I could go and interview me or you, everyone after 5 minutes could see, oh my God, this guy really knows what he's talking about, because I mean, even the way we talk, I mean, people can that we are easy to talk to. We know, the environment. We know whatever subject that we need to get involved with. It goes with experience, right? I
right,
mean, but we don't do makeup. We put it exactly in the paper, exactly what it is. Some people look in the paper said, "Wow, the big differentiality." And instead of what I usually look at, which, for example, some time ago, it was like 2 years ago, I was looking for a specific profile, and I had hundreds of CVs, and all of them were made up, because after a brief interview, I could see clearly that the person has nothing to do with the paper. And
yeah,
yourself, dealing with this daily, you obviously you must have a lot of of a lot of stories, regarding this,
yeah.
right?
You know me, I like to talk, and it goes back to what we started off with as
Yeah,
well, Julio, which is the difference between the report on the country and the
yeah,
reality. It's the same thing. It's the differences on paper. Paper is not going to get you the job. It may get you in the door to have
yeah,
the interview, but that paper is not gonna get you the job. It's going to
yeah,
be who you are and how you show up.
yeah, yeah. And be truthful. That's the most
Yeah,
important thing. Sometimes people, I mean, especially in these days, and especially how people are most of the time, It's very hard to find a trustful person today because
No,
people
and
know themselves.
yeah, I don't need to hear some fancy story. Here's one thing just on that. That's a important point. Is that for anybody out there who's in the job market
Yeah,
or whenever that happens or looking for promotion? I mean, the issue is be authentic and be humble. Like
yeah,
I have hired so many people who've said, I don't have that much experience, but here's my passion, here's my this, here's my that. And they're upfront about it. And I connect with those people way better than somebody who's selling me a story.
yeah.
I don't need some
Or
Netflix.
selling medals, as we
Yeah,
used to say.
exactly
We had a
right.
huge range of medals and
Yeah, yeah.
trophies,
Oh,
and
and then I did this, and we increased it by 12 gazillion, bazillion, mazillion, and you're just going, okay. I don't need to hear that. What I need to know is okay, this person is authentic. They're
yeah,
humble. They're not afraid to tell me I hate that. I just thought of that
yeah,
stupid
yeah,
interview question. What's the one thing you want to work on and all that stuff? I hate that question. There's other ways to find that out. But anyway,
yeah, yeah,
that being said, it really is about really who is this person, and I appreciate people who are willing to say, as we all should.
yeah,
Look, I'm way older than you.
yeah,
I
yeah,
still am learning. I still make mistakes. If
yeah.
somebody comes to me and says, I'm perfect, like no, I'm
No.
still learning as a coach, and I'm 30 years doing it.
Well,
So that's so important that you just talked about.
Paul, we're going back to that specific moment where people want to appear to look sharp and good instead
Yeah.
of being themselves,
Yeah.
and that's the most important part they miss out.
That
Because,
they missed the point.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But they think they're not, and this is the typical generation we having in this day, you know. They're looking for appearances, they're looking for makeup, they're looking for going through the market, showing all the trophies, even the ones they might have bought, and I mean, I'm telling the reality as it is in the market in this instant. And it's unfortunate instead of just be yourself. Why
I
don't?
think so. I think you're so important to focus on this because social media has created this drive for something that's not real. So
Yeah,
I'll give you a quick story. A friend of mine, his son, didn't have a lot of experience, just got a degree in technology, but maybe one or two apprentices, but nothing, no real work experience. And he was offered this is the job he got offered. He was offered a job, 22 years old, no job experience, Google in Shanghai, 1 year, apartment, $500 a month, transportation, and the opportunity to grow into a role with Google. And my friend, I said, how did it go? He said, horrible. My son turned it down. I go, he turned down a year in Shanghai with one of the top companies in the world. And he said, I said, what did he say? He said, my son felt that they didn't value him enough. And I just went, okay. So this social media platform, meaning that everything has to be in, because I'm 22 and I have a degree, I deserve a $200,000 a year job. What an incredible opportunity he missed,
yeah,
right? Because he was too busy on this false framework that says
yeah,
this is what success is, and this is what I deserve at 22 with
yeah,
no experience whatsoever. So I was like, okay, it is that we're being driven to be people that we're not.
yeah,
We're being driven by this, response that every time the phone rings, our
yeah,
attention takes away. We're being formed in a neuroscience kind of a way
yeah, yeah,
to be reactive to that.
yeah, yeah. And one significant point that you just mentioned is the thrive. This brings, of course, some people a lot of money, but they are disgracing people's mentality because they are absorbing all the youngsters, especially in this generation, to a thrive that is totally virtual and unreal.
Yeah.
When they face the reality themselves, they can face a lot of even psychological problems because they see there's nothing to do with what they're doing, what their expectation. And
Yeah.
this is something I would believe that should be more regulated according to the terms and according what is the thrive and what they are publishing and how we going in. My main question is, where do we want to go? Is this the future? Do you actually think that this will take us anywhere? This is my question
Yeah.
to the main
Yeah.
producers of all this.
Yeah, I don't think we do, and here's why. There's another, it's hard to not to want to paint with a broad brush about this generation and that. Within this generation that I've talked to, because I mentor a lot of folks who are in their 20s to early 30s, but basically 20s. And there's a lot of folks out there who are just opposite. So that always gives me hope because that they are willing to take risks, that they are willing, that they are willing to step away from and do their own thing. And that's why, Julio, this as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's why the other side of the coin is there are some brilliant 20 somethings who have created amazing companies and amazing services and who are doing their own thing, and they don't need to have the traditional role the way, at least when I was growing up, is that you work for a company and you work for them for 30 years. So that gives me hope that some people with that platform and that framework are saying, I'm going to be my authentic self, and they've been incredibly successful. So that part excites me, but the other part of your question scares me. The question of, is this what we want? But what excites me is what I'm seeing a lot of, even earlier than 20, but a lot of 20 somethings who are, the market is global. You don't need to have a big office with a big logo on it. You can create value and you can create wealth and create wonderful products and services. The other part that gives me hope in terms of global leadership, and again, we're not talking about leading a global 500 company. We're talking about leading locally, is that a lot of them are more altruistic than my generation, that they not only want to create the value, but they also want it's their commitment to, I guess we can't say that in the States, DEI, but to ESG, to something more than just money, to sustainability.
I always say to you, to everyone in general, people mostly, even today, I speak to a lot of people and they think everything is about money. And my next question is, so how do you value yourself? Are you willing to sell yourself to something that you don't believe? That's my main question. For them to make them think, and everyone in general, what you're doing and the way you're thinking is wrong. Why should you devaluate yourself and your skills and what you value for something that you don't believe? And you still follow it. Why are you thriving? Why are you persisting in something that you are totally against it? So this is the main concept I've been watching for the last at least 6-7 years within social media and our society itself. And this is becoming a real problem for most entrepreneurs because they don't see the ones that don't have success. What are they failing in? First point, take all the failures into experience. And then from that, you thrive and continue, but you don't stop. If you have an idea and if you have something that really is differentiality from the market and it doesn't exist, and it's really different for what you report and what you're doing, just continue to do it until you launch it. The main thing is you need to take that step. I always give an example. You cannot be on the rain and not get wet. You won't get wet with an umbrella for some time, but eventually you get what, and that has to come with experience. If you don't have that experience, you won't know, and
Yeah.
you need to gain that experience to yourself, and then to launch yourself, and know with knowledge how you're going to go stages by stages, and
And
you're
I
going to have
think,
problems every day.
yeah. And I think the other issue that I've seen, particularly with younger entrepreneurs, is that they're great bringing stuff to market. They're great at the idea selling, and even getting the round of first, second, third round of financing. They're great at that. But at the end of the day, they have to create an organization that's sustainable. And there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of uh, startups that just flame out or burn out because their their folks haven't learned from, as you said, learned from their experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of those folks need to understand that creating a sustainable organization and company, or enterprise, let's call it that,
Yeah.
Is not the same as getting Series C financing and whatever. It's about people. It's about who you hire. It's about the people you surround yourself with. You may have the greatest idea in the world, but if you surround yourself with people, and if you have a toxic culture, or you drive them to the ground and they leave, you're not gonna make that great idea a reality. So my view is understand that. I tell all leaders this, Julio, so don't laugh. Any leader that I've worked with, I tell them, I go, you're just not that important. And they look at me sideways, whether they're a young entrepreneur or they're
Yeah.
somebody from
Yeah.
a.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that they're not that important, it's because whoever is adding the value to the company every day and creating that value, those are the people who are important. So if I'm an entrepreneur, let's stick on that, and I have a great idea and I get my funding, I'm in series C, D, whatever. Moving forward, we're launching, the social media is all over it. And if I've created a toxic work culture where everybody's burned out by the highs and the lows and the dramas of that first phase of a startup, then I'm not going to be successful long term. I'm gonna
Yeah.
flame out and burn out. If I'm ahead of and I've dealt with a lot of these C-suite folks who think they've arrived and their companies are not doing well, or they're doing well, but they could be doing better. So I won't mention one, but there was one company that they're a global leader. It's great. But the trouble is, because they were a global leader, I was saying, you're still allowing hundreds of millions of dollars to fly out the window because you think you have arrived. We all need to always, so leaders always learn, as you said, Julio, take that experience, keep learning, keep growing, keep challenging yourself to add the best value that you can.
One important point, and we keep on doing the same mistake. So instead of learning from previous experience and past experience, we're still committing the same mistakes. Why? Because you can see the reality. We need to wait something to happen and then to take measures and counterturns when this thing has already happened in the past, and it should have been countermeasure before it happened. And it's going over and over and over in many subjects. I'm not talking about the specific one. It's all factors. This is keeping happening. We don't learn from our experience because we forgot. You shouldn't forget what already happened, when it could be regained as experience to not happen in the future, right? And the second important point is that, especially internationally, for the big CEOs, you cannot be everywhere. If we don't have the people in strategic points, forget about the international, because you're not there, you cannot see, and it's not transparent. And you need to have that transparency globally, no matter how many countries you are present with. You need to have those eyes communicating to you with the same music, I just say, like the same sound and the same orchestra, playing to you with the same milestone, right?
Absolutely. Go. And I always say go native. And that's
Yeah.
the role I played for this company in the exhibition business. That was the role. I was the eyes on the ground. And oh my gosh, my bosses who weren't there were like, you can't do this. You can't do that. I go, you don't understand. Okay. You're not here. That's why I'm here, is to be your eyes and ears and help you find a balance between how you run your company globally and what has to happen locally. I'm a big believer in that hybrid, right?
Yeah.
For that model, be local. You can be global, but be native on the ground. Like, be local.
And the third point is, don't treat humans as objects. If you treat them well, they treat you well. And we are seeing this, unfortunately, in current market, in current transitions. We are seeing this over and over again.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, the key for global leadership is exactly that. Is to almost everything that you and I've talked about today. It's about that human side of things and understanding that, connecting with that, having that space for that value to be added, and the value will be added if that space is there.
Yeah,
absolutely. It'll come. So it used to be you got to do this to make the money. No, if you do all these things, I'm a firm believer. If you do all that, you're going to be wildly successful. Like, don't even sweat. You have to sweat a little, but when you do things the right way at any place in the globe, small startup,
the results will come.
The results will come.
Yeah. So, Paul, amazing career. Tell us a bit about the journey, about your book. You wrote a book. It's been successful. Tell us a bit about the insights of your book and how you write it.
So the book is called Rogue Leadership: Harnessing the Headwinds to Drive Performance. And it comes from these 30 years of what we've talked about, working all over the world with different industries, different cultures, different leadership. And I started over time, when I started coaching, to see a pattern. The pattern is that most leaders, go to let's get this software. We need this. We need that. They have their framework. They have their safety zones of what they need to do, and they were forgetting the human component that we've talked about. So going rogue really means a couple of things. Number one, which we've talked about here, trust your gut.
Yeah.
Number two, find a way to add value. Number three, be authentic. So the book really talks about ways. Going rogue to me is saying going against the system and the norms. And a big one, which is in the book, I talk about, flipping the pyramid.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's very simple. The people who add the value every day to your organization, who create the service or the product or the object, whatever it is, those are the people that you as a leader need to create a space for them to thrive. And so you flip the pyramid. They are the most important people, next to your shareholders. They're the most important people. And if you take care of them and you communicate differently with them and you trust them, you let go of this, I'm the leader and I need to hold on to this. You trust them, they will do amazing things for you. So the book is really about how to unlock that potential and that power. And, I talk about how you show up as a leader. I talk about taking risks. I talk about saying no. So there's a quick story, and then I'll wrap up on the book. Is that I was in Azerbaijan at British Petroleum, largest oil and gas terminal in the world, and the number 2 VP from London called my boss, who ran the terminal, and I was on speakerphone. The guy knew I was in the room, and he said, "I need an answer now. You give me an answer now." And my colleague John said, "Can I give you an answer in an hour?" And the guy freaked out. "No, you need to tell me now. And so what I heard and what John heard was this guy was very fearful, right? He
Yeah.
had, he needed an answer. And he goes, God, yeah, he said some words I can't say. And he said, why do you need an hour? And he said, with all due respect, sir, do you want an answer?
Or you want a mere something that I'm gonna say that's not the reality.
No, that isn't what he said. He said, do you want an answer? You're close. Or do you want the right answer?
Yeah.
He said, which is exactly what you said. He said, do you want an answer or do you want the right answer? And that, John took his power right there. Most leaders are incapable of pushing back up, managing upward that way. And John said, give me an hour. And he said, you and I know that if I give you the wrong answer, your head isn't going to roll. My head is going to roll.
Yeah.
So if you're putting that on me,
yeah,
I'm taking an hour. He took a walk. He came back.
Which is very common for people who don't know in big organizations. When there's pressure, the pressure comes down all the way from the mountain, right, and someone has to take the blame. We already know how all these work.
Somebody has to do it. But so the book is about all those things. It's about how to transform your teams, how to be a more powerful leader, but by doing things that are counterintuitive, by doing things the opposite of what the norms are and what the pressures are.
And what is the reality? Because in the end, the market and the society itself is not perfect. I mean, you mentioned going broke because it's a matter of conceptuality that people have following the trend. I mean, the trend can be wrong. I mean, you need to evaluate. You need to have common sense and see if it's true. Is it not? Is it good? Is it bad? You need to evaluate.
No,
it's
absolutely.
Like you just mentioned Azerbaijan. You calling Azerbaijan saying I need an answer now with people from Azerbaijan? Really? You totally out of the concept of the culture. They don't even allow that to happen if you talk to them like that. And this is a main concept that need to evaluate.
Yeah.
It's and I think yourself. It's not about the company that you manage. You need to understand where you want to thrill.
And here's a key to doing all that. How do I do all that? How would I tell a leader I'm coaching? How do they do that for your listeners, for the people joining us today?
Yeah.
The first thing I would say is slow down.
Yeah.
When we talk about John and his boss in London, he slowed things down. And if there's one thing, slow down so that you can understand the value, the situation, what's going on, so that you're not rushing just to respond. So if there's one key in rogue leadership, it's just slow down before you take any significant decisions. During the day, not an issue, but impactful decisions, slow it down.
Yeah.
Know what the reality is.
It's important to understand what is the situation on the ground, on the field. You need to feel it. If you don't feel it and you're trying to make you think you make an accurate decision being on remote, you cannot make an accurate decision on remote. You need to trust the teammate that you have on the field, because he's the one who feels it. He's the one who knows what's needed. He knows what is the understanding of the local people that he's dealing with, and you need to trust that. If he's not willing to do that, that will never work. Because you cannot be 4,000 kilometers away and trying to understand what's happening in the field. That will never happen. That's you with me. This is the reality.
It's just the reality. Well stated, Julio. Well stated.
Exactly. So, Paul, it was really, really amazing journey that you had. You gave a lot of insights. I'm pretty sure everyone that will hear this will be amazed with the knowledge that you can put in and how you can help people and companies and organizations in so many ways and being truthful. which is a concept that I would like to leave today, and for society to rethink the way they're thinking. Just be
Yeah.
yourself, man. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
be yourself to others, to people, to organization, to your family, to your friends. Be yourself. If people like you, they will like you the way you are, not the way they want you to be.
Yeah.
That's the main concept I'd like to leave today as a resume of conversation, because that is what brings value to yourself and to people around you.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and what is happening in society is that people like you, but then they like you the way they want you to be. So that's not like. That's not like. You need to like the person the way the person really is, not the way you want it to be. So there's a concept here, which is the reality. And if you want to bring that reality somewhere, it has to work this way. Not trying to transform a person to be someone else that the person is, which then it will not give you the input that you're expecting it will be, because he's not that person. But he
Yeah.
wants
And
it to be.
yeah,
It
the
doesn't work,
results
right?
won't come. The results and the opportunities won't be realized.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or can be half achieved, but they will never be totally achieved. You know,
Yeah,
that's
no, I mean, you can, as you said, they could be achieved, but at what cost, right?
yeah,
So if I end up with a workforce that hates me and that my retention is 20% and I have turnover, yeah, I can make the numbers for the shareholders, but it is taking way too much effort to have a successful enterprise. Whereas the other way, the results are going to be so much more
efficient.
impactful and efficient, and you're going to have a wonderful place to work as well.
So what I'll leave as a remark today is be yourself, know how to evaluate the situation where you are, the field evaluation and yourself in that situation, and do your proper remarks and what are your main goals and what exactly you want for yourself. So I leave these points here, which is my main 3 points that I usually tell people. If you have them, if you don't have them, create them. I mean, the
Yeah,
naturality to come
that's the
with,
core.
you
You
know.
got to start there, and then you can start leading others. But if you don't do that yourself first, it's going to be very difficult to bring others along with the journey. People who want to work with you, be a part of that journey. So
Yeah,
it's got to start from, as you said, with the core, with yourself, and then you move that onto the team and how you, and the rest is the rest. But you
of
have to start
course.
there.
And in the end, is like you just said, everything will come along with it.
No,
Natural.
no,
You don't
absolutely,
even have to
absolutely.
make an effort. If you follow in those marks along the way, everything will come naturally with no
Yeah,
stress, no pressure,
yeah,
and it will happen. It will
yeah.
happen.
It'll
Yeah,
flow.
yeah. It's go with the flow. I used to say, go with the vibe. You know,
Yeah, no,
go with the
let's
vibe.
make sure. Go with the
Yeah,
vibe, Julio. Go
yeah.
with the vibes.
If you follow the vibe as we just mentioned, like that, eventually, in any moment, things will happen. It's just a matter that don't think that it's going to happen in one day
No,
or in
no,
1 week. It takes time, but it will happen.
it'll
You know,
happen.
that's how it's achieved. I mean, the world was not built in 2 days. You know, it's just an example. A
Yeah,
company or successful company is not built in 1 week. It takes
no,
it takes time. So, but doing the homework, as we say, it will happen. It will happen, and people inside that structure will follow along because they'll feel engaged in what they're doing, and they feeling that they are putting their values and their skills into something to make it insightful, right?
yep. And that's a great vibe to use. I love the vibe thing, but that's it. That's a
Yeah,
great vibe. You come to work because of the vibe, right? The vibe
yeah,
is what is it for me, but all the people around, totally different people, different framework mindsets. But if they all share that vibe, that
absolutely.
frequency, man, Great things
You
happen.
you follow with the boat. It's a sailing boat, and you just go somewhere, but it will always go to a good port. It's
Yeah.
I'll always say.
Here's to more good ports.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Paul, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, it's just been great talking to you. If you want to know more about the book, it's on Amazon
Right?
worldwide, and you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn. So
Perfect, perfect.
thanks
So,
for
do you
having
have any
me.
other channels? You prefer LinkedIn for people to get in touch with you?
I do have LinkedIn is the best way. I do have a
Okay.
YouTube channel that was created called Rogue Leader.
Okay.
So it's on there. They can check that out. There's some good 2 to 3 minute bits about being a better leader. But yeah, LinkedIn is the best.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Paul, was really, really insightful conversation. I really enjoyed it deeply. Honestly, I really enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure everyone around will enjoy the inputs and the insights of all conversation. So, before we go, I always ask my guests to say a power message. So, what will be your power message today?
That well, jeez, I hate these things. There I'm being authentic. The power message is understand your value.
Yeah.
And know your stories, because understanding your value is one thing. Sharing that, the best way I know how is to do it through sharing your stories, that tell that other person or that other company or that other team who you are and what you're about. But don't be afraid of the value that you bring. Don't be afraid to be who you are, and good things will happen.
Wonderful, very powerful. I truly believe in that. So, Paul, was really, really a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much for bringing all your insights and your knowledge to all around us. I'm truly appreciated for that. So, thank you again. I wish you all the best in your journey and your future. And you never know, you might come back one day for another episode, sharing another insightful story or whatever that you like to share.
It would
So,
be my pleasure. It was a lot of fun, as always.
thank you so much, Paul.
Thank
Really
you,
appreciate
Julio.
it.
Appreciate
So,
it.
see you again next time. And guys, that was all for today. Catch us on again on the next episode. I appreciate it. Thank you. See you.